right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are now going to take a look at the the Hall of Fame class of 2024. One of the electees was Jim Leland, who was elected earlier, back in early December, I believe. So obviously, he started out as a player with the Tigers organization in 1964. He was a three-time Manager of the Year, twice in the National League in 1990 and 1992, and then in the American League in 2006. He managed with the he was a part of the Marlins organization. He also managed the Rockies for one season, and then he spent his final 8 seasons managing the Tigers. And the Tigers had some really good teams. I mean, the fact that they didn't win the World Series, that was back in, 2013, I thought could have been the year, but that was when the Red Sox had like that miracle run, with that team. Because they had a really good team. I mean, they had Prince Fielder. They had, obviously, Miguel Cabrera, winning back-to-back MVPs and, the Triple Crown. You had Verlander and Scherzer at the top of your rotation. They had a really good team. And also they had a good team in 2006, but they lost to the Cardinals that year. So he won 2 pennants with the Tigers. That was in 2006 and 2012, and he earned 4 postseason appearances. What a career he had. Again, managed some good teams, managed some great players. Barry Bonds and Miguel Cabrera, of course. Miguel Cabrera, again, in the early 2010s, was the best hitter in baseball. He was unbelievable. That 2-year stretch that he had. So what else on Jim Leland we can discuss? But so he never advanced beyond Double-A as a minor league catcher during a playing career that ended in 1970. He landed his first big league job with the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1986 and went on to win 1,769 games over a 22-year big league career that ended in 2013 with the Tigers. He ranks 18th on the all-time managerial win list. So when he left, that's kind of when the Tigers, kind of fell off. Because I think Brad Ausmus took over after him, and that's kind of when the Tigers, they started declining as a team. And, now they're kind of, now they're in rebuild. So, so congrats to Jim Leland. He was the first, member of this class. So then we'll get to the players now. So 3 players got in. So you had Todd Helton, Adrian Beltre, and Joe Mauer. Guys that, I grew up watching, throughout the... Todd Helton retired a little bit before I really started watching. Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. But, for the most part, I grew up watching, really Beltre and Mauer. Helton, retired, kind of like right when I started watching. So Beltre, he honestly was one of my favorite players, and just some of the antics that him and Elvis Andrus would have, in the infield all those years with the Rangers. He was with a lot of teams, Beltre. I didn't realize he was with the Dodgers. He was with the Red Sox for a little bit, the Mariners. He hit .310 with an .883 OPS over an 8-year span from age 31 to 38. He got over 3,000 hits, got his 3,000th hit in 2017. So he finished his career with 3,166 hits, which is 18th all-time, and 477 home runs, which is 31st all-time. So I'm happy he made it. Debuted with the Dodgers at 19 in 1998. He hit .334 with 48 home runs in 2004, which is unbelievable. And yeah, so he had some good years with the Mariners, 2005 to 2009. He actually had an All-Star selection with the Red Sox when he was with them for 1 year. So yeah, I mean, great career Beltre really had. Also, Joe Mauer, of course. Again, a player I grew up watching, was a 2009 MVP. Batted .323 from 2004 to 2013 with an .873 OPS with 105 home runs in that span. He hit .365 with an over 1,000 OPS in 2009, and that's where he won the MVP. He had 3 Gold Gloves. Unfortunately for him, though, like, concussions kind of led to the downfall of his career, and he got moved to first base. So that that was unfortunate, but really did have a solid career. He finished with 2,123 hits, 143 home runs, and a 27 OPS, and of course, again, was great behind the plate as well. He was drafted first overall by the Twins in 2001. He was a 6-time All-Star, again, like I said, MVP in 2009. And then, of course, you have Todd Helton with the Rockies. Took some time, but he finally made it. Had a career batting average of 316 over 17 seasons. He hit .333 while averaging nearly 30 home runs per season. Of course, playing with the Rockies, Coors Field has something to do with that. But still, he hit 369 home runs, had 2,519 hits, a .953 OPS, spending his entire career with the Rockies, earning 3 Gold Gloves, and 5 All-Star selections. Yeah, so that's a solid class. Again, now we're starting to get into that point where it's a bunch of players that I grew up watching, because now, and you're seeing that in the NFL too, is guys being eligible for the Hall of Fame. It's like, wow, these are guys that I was watching. But yeah, so congratulations to those 4 now Hall of Famers. But there were some people that got left off the ballot this year. Well, not left off the ballot, but they fell a little bit short of getting, into the Hall this year. So you need 75% of the vote to get in. So Beltre got 95%, 95.1. Todd Helton got 79.7. Joe Mauer got 76.1. Billy Wagner fell just short. He got 73.8% of the vote. Gary Sheffield, which a lot of people were were kind of surprised that he didn't get in. He got 63.9% of the vote. So yeah, this was actually his final year on the ballot. So now he needs that that committee to get him in, to vote him in the future. But yeah, that was one person that people were a little surprised. So you also had Andrew Jones or Andrew Jones. I remember Ken Singleton. I've been saying Andrew Jones, but I don't know. But I trust Ken Singleton. So Andrew Jones, Andrew Jones, he got 61.6% of the vote. Of votes. Beltran got 57.1%. A-Rod got 34.8%. Manny Ramirez got 32.5%. This is actually Manny Ramirez's 8th year on the ballot. Chase Utley, his first year on the ballot, 28.8%. Omar Vizquel got 17.7%. Bobby Abreu, 14.8%. Jimmy Rollins, 14.8%. Andy Pettit, 13.5%. Mark Burley, 8.3%. Francisco Rodriguez, 7.8%. Torrey Hunter, 7.3%. David Wright, 6.2%. This was David Wright's first year on the ballot as well. So the induction ceremony is set for July 21st. So yeah. But let me know what you guys think about the players that, felt well. Andrew Jones and Beltran and Gary Sheffield, they, it's Beltran's second year on the ballot. Andrew Jones has been there this is now his 7th year on the ballot. But there are some players there that, there's some controversy with them because, some of these guys, took steroids. I mean, A-Rod of course. But I don't know. For me, I mean, I know this is a very controversial topic, but I feel like a lot of these players that that aren't getting voted in because of that, of taking steroids, I feel like they deserve to be in. But that's just me. So, but it looks like Billy Wagner is going to get in next year. This was his 9th year on the ballot. When I was reading up on it last night. So, we'll see who gets in next year. We will look ahead to the we'll look at the ballot for next year. Who's going to be on there. But yeah, but Gary Sheffield, I know, was like the big one that some people were a little bit surprised about. So that's that's pretty much it when talking about the Hall of Fame. Again, now we're starting to get into where it's a bunch of players that I watched growing up, and shows that we're getting older. Again, congratulations to them on making the Hall of Fame. Those 4 guys, well deserved. And so we're gonna look at who's gonna be on the ballot next year, because there's a lot of first year players that'll be on the. Some of them I'm looking at right now. I mean, I don't see how some of these guys are gonna make it, but again, they're on the ballot because they're eligible. But there definitely are some that are on it for next year that should get in at some point. And we'll get into that in the final segment here. So once again, I want to remind you guys. So at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time here, I will be streaming the football podcast. So I'll get you set for Championship Sunday. Got some other stuff to cover as well regarding some coaching moves. Again, that'll be covered again in the football podcast. So just make sure to tune in for that, and make sure to tune into the other shows as well, because we've had a bunch of new shows start this week. The last couple weeks now, it's really started to ramp up. So now again, you don't have to just watch me. There's other things to watch now, which is good. Because maybe you got sick of just watching me. You got other people now to watch as well. All throughout the day, of course, we got a bunch of shows. So make sure to do that. Get different perspectives. But so with that, we are going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the who's on the ballot for next year, and I'll give you my thoughts on it when we come back from our final break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.